officially, of course, I mentioned that Thanksgiving at WrestleCade, I managed my last match at ringside, and I've officially this year sworn off any events involving actual wrestling.
Huh.
If there are matches going on, I will not be there. Now, it's a comic convention, fan fest, things of that nature, Legends Fan Fest, I should say. Then I still may participate, although not often, because my resolutions even before New Year's was not to travel so much. But, you know, and I was writing, as I mentioned, the Fighting Spirit column, and I realized with retrospection and introspection and all those kind of inspections that I may have been wrong. I may have been wrong about some of the aspects of modern wrestling. I keep saying, who wants to see that fucking horse shit, right? I've come to the conclusion there are people that do want to see this fucking horse shit. And of course, as we've mentioned, there are also people in Germany that like to have their balls nailed to a step stool. So you never can account for taste. But I was doing a retrospective of different Januaries throughout my career. And when I got to January 18 in this column, I said, you know, because it's for the past couple of years, I've limited my wrestling appearances to either working for old friends or working with people I wanted to work with one more time, like the Rock and Roll Express, Bobby Fulton, Austin Idol was involved in there. I did a favor for Jeff Jarrett last August as thanks for things his family has done for me and to visit some old friends, and that promotion promptly fell apart. And so it's almost like that wrestling now is like the U.S. political scene. You're either old-time pro wrestling fans and you're aghast at what it's turned into, or you're mostly the younger fans, although in the case of our political scene, it's the older people that are the Republicans. But the younger people, I read these tweets and I see what people say. I can't tell you how many times I've read, well, it's wrestling. It's supposed to be silly and fun, and you're supposed to laugh and have a good time. And just the idea that people now think that, and they can't fathom why people of my generation are so disgusted with this shit, whether it be the dance routines or the overall silliness and just the winking at everybody, exposing yourself in the ring, in the actual match to wink at everybody and say, we're not really serious. We're all friends. You know, when you do something long enough, it's hard to quit. But I have finally come to the startling conclusion that the days of multiple wrestling promotions running real arenas in major cities, drawing legitimate crowds on a regular basis, are over. The lines between real and work being blurred enough to get heat on heels or make baby faces real heroes are over. The days of talent going in and popping the territory because you're new and you're fresh and you can get over, those days are over. I've said before on a number of occasions that now that everybody knows that everything is a work and a performance, there's really no point in doing this anymore. And that's kind of harsh because I know that a lot of fans, even the old fans, love wrestling enough that they'll even watch it when it's all acknowledged to be a show. But at the same time, I just can't understand why that we're doing this anymore. It's over. You know, it was like with Ring of Honor. I was wrong about that. Here was my mistake with Ring of Honor. I smoked the hopium, as Jokoff would phrase it. And I saw guys like the Briscoes and Lethal and Richards and Edwards and Cole and O'Reilly and, you know, the hard-hitting athletic MMA influence. And I thought that could be the only wrestling that people in the modern era might take as serious and credible on a mainstream basis. And I was wrong because there isn't any wrestling promotion that people in the modern era are going to take as serious and credible. Whether Ring of Honor or any other, wrestling is now a niche product, and Ring of Honor is the biggest niche in the niche. And they're doing great for what it is, but nobody's doing well. Vince isn't even doing well for Vince, and nobody else is doing well at all in comparison with all the years and decades gone by where wrestling was a big thing. So my mistake with Ring of Honor, as I've sat and dwelled on this while I was in the house freezing, my biggest mistake was I I knew that regular folks in Ohio weren't going to buy guys that looked like high school kids wearing pajamas doing flips on their TV. I was right about that, but I was wrong about Ring of Honor in that I tried to take away the small audience's silly wrestling to try to win back the much bigger group of fans that had left wrestling entirely, whether Ring of Honor or anything else, because it had become so silly. But they ain't going to come back. So what I did was I ran off the small number of fans that liked silly wrestling and liked people named Cheeseburger, and he's a fine young man, and the silly fucking skinny guys and the fucking flipping and the goddamn stuffed animals or whatever. I took away the small audience's silly wrestling to try to get the big audience back, and they ain't coming because they're too disgusted with it and they've moved on. So that's why I really just, after all these years, I cannot go to wrestling events. And even if it's not in the segment that I'm in, where somebody's doing a dance routine or playing with a stuffed animal or whatever, if I'm there, it lends my tacit approval to it. And it's like there's nothing wrong with it. And it's embarrassing. And, so I'm going to stay away from wrestling shows. I'm sure a lot of people will like that. And for the other people that would want to see me at a wrestling show, they're probably not going to be at a wrestling show either for the same fucking reasons. But it's not all horrible, because when I think about it also, this past Christmas week, I stayed in the house with my wife and puppy. The heat worked most of the time. I made a ton of money off the DVD sale on my website. I didn't have to have knee surgery, fall off a scaffold, cut my head open with a razor blade, move to another state, et cetera, all the things that I've done in previous New Year's. So it just, I'm trying to get the wrestling monkey off my back, Brian. I'm trying to come to grips with it. It's gone. It ain't coming back. And I don't need to be a part of it just to say, well, because I've done this for 35 years, I should do this because, I've done it. And it ain't there anymore. So I've come to grips with that. But I may need you, and I may need the cult members if I start to backslide. I've deliberately not called a few people back because I knew what they wanted to do. But if I start to backslide, take phone calls, somebody starts, just what? I may need to call on you guys as my support group.
I'll be there for you. Hunter, if you're listening, call me directly, and I'll act as the buffer between you and Jim.
Delirious? No, he can call me directly.
No. But no, all kidding aside, you should focus on what you like about wrestling. And unfortunately, that may not be anything with current wrestling. It should be the stories. It could be finding out parts of history that have been lost to time. It could be talking to people about wrestling. That's kind of the position I'm in. I don't want to go to wrestling shows, but I still love wrestling. I don't want to, really, I want to enjoy it from a distance. I really do.
Well, there you go. I'm concentrating more on the book projects, the podcast here, my columns, interviews with, for example, the kayfabe commentaries back to the Territory series, things like that, where you can talk and reminisce and have fun about what used to be without having to dwell on the misery that is. Sort of like what anybody in the United States is going to be doing for the next fucking 3 years, with our political scene until we get this fucking pig fucker out of office. So anyway, I'm going to concentrate on the positive, which is everything that has happened in wrestling over the last 120 years, except for the last 20 years, and try to, and I know all these wise asses are still going to tweet me, these, the kids, having fun, making a joke out of everything, but I'm going to try as hard as I can not to watch so that I don't have the sour belches and want to murder people with claw hammers. So, but it's my New Year's resolution. No wrestling shows for you. And actually Harley Quinn is right here at my feet right now helping me with that.